So I'm laying down here playing games on my phone with Max. I don't know if you can see him. And they're attacking my crotch and my bladder, giving me a sensation like I have to pee. And it has a vibration to it. And I can put my hand over here, and my hand is feeling a pulsation or a vibration against it and a force against it. There's a slight crushing sensation or pressure sensation on it. It's like on the borderline between pain and discomfort. I mean, it does hurt, but just slightly. And the longer I leave it there, like the more they crank it up. But it feels like someone's pressing against my bladder and pressing against my dick. And it's also causing a vibration against my dick and giving it like a sensation like I have to pee. So I'm not getting aroused or anything like that. But you know when someone's touching your private parts. You know when someone's touching your asshole. You know when someone's touching your dick and your balls. And earlier they were poking my asshole at the same time. I don't mean that I was having the sensation like something was like touching my asshole. I mean it was being pressed against. They've also last week they were shocking my asshole too, like they did to me in jail. Whenever I use like a wet wipe. Uh, uh, and then I would use that like in jail. I would like get toilet paper and I would wet it for like near the end or whatever of the wiping cycle. Anytime I used a wet wipe, they would shock my asshole, and it's not the most severely that they've shocked it. There's been times where they shocked it. And literally, I felt like I had a hand taser held up against my asshole, shocking it, as has happened to my feet and other parts of my body. But every day is a nightmare, and every day like they use my dad's voice, and they're like, "No one's coming for you," and they constantly say the most dehumanizing, demoralizing things just over and over and over again. Just it's nonstop. They're talking nonstop. And again, I'm not schizophrenic because, after a month when it started, first of all, schizophrenia does not usually hit someone without a history of mental illness at age 42. And I didn't have like a string of people coming through my house that were suddenly and temporarily schizophrenic as well. Like George heard voices, he heard me talking behind his back, but I don't talk behind people's backs, and I would never talk behind his back, and I didn't talk behind his back. He heard my voice in other people's voices talking about him behind his back, and that was them using voice to skull. I didn't know it at the time. I didn't know about them at the time until all these other weird phenomena started happening. And then all of a sudden I hear George's voice like talking to me. A year and a half later, after I left the house, and then my dad's voice, and they created a whole soundboard. And again, they're still pushing against my bladder. Once again, I can feel around. I can feel a beam there, and now it's partially blocking it or mostly blocking it for my bladder and my dick. So like, when someone's touching it. So there is a force being applied against my dick and against my bladder, and it has a vibration to it and an electrical sensation to it. And again, I can do this. I can feel an electrical sensation in my hand and a vibration and like a squeezing sensation. So they're doing that on my dick. They can literally make it where it feels like someone's squeezing your dick. They can zap any part of your body, and it feels like you have a cramp. They can give you a cramping sensation anywhere on your body, even places where you probably don't even have a muscle, or you have a muscle that has never cramped before. They really like to do that among so many other things. And my dad's like got his thumb up his ass doing absolutely nothing about this, and I will never forgive him for that. So I've been debating whether or not to do these around the clock. Sometimes when I start doing these, I'll do like around the clock things to update it, but I hate doing that because that sort of prompts them, or sometimes they in turn do it to prompt me to make these videos. They like to go through cycles where they like, every day is like a different type of thing, or multiple times a day. I mean, they do that anyway, but it's so tiresome because then I have to like type up the description and then upload the video and choose a thumbnail. And then like I used to send it to my dad, and I sent him like 200 or 300 or 400 emails along with the the Austin police and the sheriff's department, all the way up to the chief and the sheriff, and he did absolutely nothing except make rude ass bullshit remarks. He's a rude ass, disgusting motherfucker, and I'm done with him. And I've never been so disappointed and let down by anyone in my life. He's achieved the title of the person who has let me down and disappointed me the most in my life, and yet he still continues to let me down and disappoint me. And I still don't know if he even believes me or not, because they go through sound clips and stuff where it sounds like, you know, he's talking about me. So in any case, and either way, Dad, you're not doing the right thing. Either way, you're a horrible, disgusting human being, and I will never think better of you than that, because you aren't. And even if I was the things that you think that I am, which I'm not, and even if the information, like, you don't treat someone that way. You, 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 you don't treat someone with multiple disabilities that way. You don't treat someone with a single disability that way. It's like, I'm disabled, and you treat me like shit. And if you're pretending, either way, you're doing the absolute wrong thing. And it shouldn't upset you when I correct you politely on information. I have yelled at you at times, but that's not when I'm correcting you on information. That's when I've been so frustrated and I'm in pain and whatever. And I'm like, Dad, like, do something. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And then, like, you're still sitting there with your thumb up your ass, wasting money, and then you're bitching at me about the fucking storage. We wouldn't have to worry about the storage if you'd done an investigation 2.5 years ago. But then you mentioned, like, that, oh, I only gave you one reference instead of 2 references, when I'm sitting there being attacked and sexually and physically assaulted, and I already told you there weren't that many in Austin that seemed like they would be the right fit for that. And it's like, you can't Google that yourself, you fucking asshole? You're such a dick. And I hate you, and I'll hate you until the day that I die. I do not love you, and I will never love you ever again, no matter what. And if you're pretending, either way, again, you're doing the wrong thing. If you're pretending, like, you're keeping me and pushing me actively towards a desperate position of self-help, which could be one and or more options that I have refused to do, desperately refused to do, and desperately have been asking for help from the local law enforcement, from you. You should never leave someone in that position. You should never allow someone to stay in that position. And you're a disgusting piece of shit for continuing to let me stay in that position. And, like, I'm so disgusted and ashamed and embarrassed of you. And, like, I will never love you ever again. Thanks for the no rescue. Thanks for not giving a shit whether or not I would suffer or not. If you gave a shit about me, if you really cared about me, if you gave a shit about yourself or anyone or me, I would be here with Max suffering, you know, in a better way. I would be somewhere else, safe, with Max, safe, not being tortured and terrorized and physically and sexually assaulted 24/7. Again, it would be very inexpensive. It would be pretty inexpensive, and you did tell me that you would have a $5,000 budget, which you went back on. And it's like, you can't hire someone yourself, you fucking asshole. It's like, there's a logistical issue if I hire someone, and even if you're being gangstalked, it's like, there's a logistical issue for you. But, like, I already told you, I already have leads in my document. They're suspects. Follow up on them. You do nothing, just what you're best at. Oh, and treating people like shit and pushing them closer and closer to suicide. We're not giving a shit whether or not if they did. You know, I'm so disgusted and embarrassed by you, and I will hate you until the day that I die, which, thanks to you, could be a lot, you know, sooner than later. I'm so fucking insulted by you, and I'm so embarrassed and ashamed of you. Like, Mom would be ashamed of you. Mom would have got an investigation. And again, if you might still be getting gang stalked yourself. They don't normally announce themselves to people. If you don't believe that, here's one way to test that. Pretend to believe me. You keep saying that I'm the one trying, you know, doing the same thing over and over again. No, I have tried so many different ways to explain this to you. You're the one trying the same thing over and over again. You're doing absolutely nothing, and there's not anything that I don't know that would change that. And if you're doing something behind the scenes and you're pretending not to, you're doing the absolute wrong thing. Because I could be murdered or I commit suicide in a minute or 10 minutes or an hour or tomorrow. I'm refusing to do so, but They have pushed me to the point beyond where most people would understandably resort to self-help of one or more options, which I have refused to do. So keep treating me like shit and keep pretending or not pretending, not and believing me and pretending or not believing me and still treating me like shit, and see what happens, Dad. That will lead to something very bad. So you're out of my life forever anyway. So if you gave a shit about me, me and Max would be rescued by a helicopter and taken to a private jet and whisked out of here. It wouldn't cost that much. Wouldn't cost that much fucking money. I already told you, like, you think I suddenly didn't, wasn't schizophrenic in the air when and then I came back to Austin and the Gangstalking started again. It was just magically coincidental. And again, a month after this shit happened, again, which had already happened to other people in my house and other people around town with other victims. They said the guy in 301 has your phone, my stolen phone, and hacked your Google account, which I found out to be true by using the Find Your Phone tool and his email address that linked to his Facebook and his Google Plus profiles was put in as my recovery email address. He wasn't the person that stole my phone. That person that stole my phone wasn't staying at the same hotel. I didn't know the guy in 301. I could have never even guessed him. I could have never even suspected him, even if I was in a paranoid delusional state, which you think I'm in a constant state of psychosis. Oh, and you're a fucking liar, or that nurse is a fucking liar, because they don't do levels of meth. I wasn't on anything at all. First of all, they don't do levels of meth. That's part of the problem with hospitals, just as positive or negative. And then, like, if you've used within 3 or 5 days, then it shows up, and then they get to blame that, and that's why they fuck with people, within a few days after they use, because then it shows up as a positive, and then then they're like, ooh, it must be meth-induced psychoses. It wasn't. I'm a smart guy. I'm smarter than you, motherfucker. And you're still sitting there with your thumb up your ass doing nothing. Again, I fucking hate you, and I will hate you until the day that I die, which, thanks to you, is going to be a lot sooner than later. And God, you've already wasted 2.5 years of my fucking life, and, depending on how you look at it, possibly a few years before that, of my nightmare. You've allowed me to suffer for so much longer, for years, wasted, because of you. And like God knows how many decades of my life have been shaved off because whatever, adverse effects that they're doing to me, and whatever permanent physical and or psychological damage that continues to occur daily. Again, it's out of sight, out of mind for you. Every day is a fucking nightmare. I'm telling the truth, and it's not a delusional truth. It's the truth. I did not come down. Look at that list that I always put. I did not come down with multiple personality disorder and dissociative identity disorder and schizophrenia along with all these other people in my house that, went through a temporary, fit of it. Well, some of them are still going through it. I have witnesses that you discount in such a bigoted, disgusting way. Oh, they're junkies or whatever. Like, who gives a shit about them being witnesses? Dad, most of them have been in jail for months, not junkies. I don't even know if any of them use drugs. I think one of them does pot, and I think one of the guys did pot and meth, I think, out of the jail. But like, some people are using as a self-medication because of this suffering. And again, you're attributing your addiction and past drug use and alcohol use, and you're attributing downers and hallucinogens that you tried to uppers, which I wasn't even on during these events. And even if I was, it doesn't fuck with your memory or your reality. I wasn't sleep deprived. And again, I wasn't on anything. You fucking disgusting, horrible piece of shit.